Welcome to the Trees and Lines podcast, where we discuss fresh perspectives on utility vegetation management with your hosts, Phil and Tej. Don't forget to follow along on LinkedIn for the latest news. Now, let's dive into this week's episode. Welcome to another episode of Trees and Lines. Today, we're welcoming Joe DeLong, forester with Westerville City, the city of Westerville. Sorry about that, Joe. And welcome, Joe. Appreciate you joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself and then city of Westerville, and then maybe a transition into that article.
Yeah, so I started out in the crew, and then I think it's important if you're working at a place and you don't want your boss's job, I think you need to reevaluate what you're doing. And I don't know, I saw the forester in the time, and I thought, man, that seems like a good job. And I love doing tree work too, though, so it was hard to step away from the labor side of it. But yeah, he ended up retiring, and there was a spot open. And honestly, like I'm not bragging, but like I really like climbing trees, and I love the tree work side of it. And I was always worried, like there's no way they're going to take me out from the field to do the office stuff, you know. And but you don't know unless you try. So I put my resume in. I had all these ideas from being in the field, and I guess I had a different perspective. And so when I applied, I had a PowerPoint presentation, and I kind of laid it out, and they gave me the job. So
yeah. How long have you been in that role?
Since 2022. So
22. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
maybe just for our audience who maybe not know Westerville, can you just put some shape around size, population served, that kind of stuff, like
Yeah.
number of lines?
Yeah. So we're like I said, we're just a small public power. So we're surrounded all around by AEP, but we're our own public power. So we have to buy our power from big suppliers, but we have our own line shop, our own linemen, engineers. I mean, it's really a company, but not investor owned. It's myself, and I have three other arborists, and then we have a contract crew, 1 to 2 crews. So max I might have 12 guys. I'm over
On
for
system.
us. Yeah,
Okay.
on system, but it's 5 days a week.
Yeah.
We don't stop all year long.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead, Phil.
I noticed you're a forester and you have 3 arborists. Tell me the thinking
Yeah.
titles.
So and this is not something. Well, I credit the fact that we keep continuing the tradition, but 2 foresters ago, from what I believe, thought it would be a good idea when they were certified arborists that, hey, why don't everybody become certified? Like there's always usually, the lead guy was certified and the guys weren't. Now it's we made it a standard. And so to work for the city of Westerville, you have to become a certified arborist. So all my guys are all certified arborists. They all have their track. We all hold Class A CDLs. Like we got it all. Like my guys I give them something and they're like, yeah, I'll do it. They're all going to be utility specialists. Hopefully first of the year, they're all studying now. So,
Yeah.
But.
And Joe, who do you report to?
So I report to the line superintendent. So and then a lot of times it's direct to our director as well. So I kind of have 2 bosses all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
so the municipal utilities are interesting because you're pretty small relative to the investor owns. Quite
Yeah.
small. But
Yeah.
there's like 3,500 of you guys out there. So it's not
Yeah.
an inconsequential market.
Yeah. So we're part of AMP too, American Municipal Power. We're like a member of them. And so their location is just down the street. So we have a pretty high presence with them as far as like safety and stuff. So they'll come in and we get to hear about all the municipalities. But what's ironic is that I didn't even know what public power was years ago until you don't think about it. You just, there's electricity and you just don't realize, we have 6 substations in this small little town of ours.
Yeah.
Like we're small but mighty. I mean,
yeah.
I think our budget's like $60 million a year. So it's unique, and our rates we always are constantly trying to be less expensive than the investor owns. And so far it's getting harder and harder with everything going on in today's world, but we're still less than everybody else.
So in the article, it said that the number of tree-caused outages have dropped by like 41% over the last.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
tell us
how did you drive?
Yeah. So one thing I noticed by working in the field for all those years was we you get a call or there was an outage or something happened over the weekend, we would jump and go to that area and work, and we would finish up there, and then maybe the next week we might do a few more trees on that line, and then somebody else would call or we have another issue, and we would go to the other side of town. So we had it was a lot of hopping and skipping, and then we would, if we had time, we'd go back to our regular work. There was a lot of paper stuff, but you would try to track it. And it was just hard to read. So we use satellite imagery, not really kind of. It was a blessing and a curse. I don't mean curses in a bad way, but when you get a visual of your entire city and what you have to deal with, and you can't use the excuse of, well, I didn't know about it. All right, I haven't been over there, but now we know, and so we just started really having a standard, and we started following ANSI standards. We put out notifications to the residents, and we just started clearing things. Really, a reclaim. We had some areas that were 10+ years untouched.
So it sounds like what you did was you partnered with somebody that can give you that satellite view, right? You
Yep.
got some data, you baselined your system, you caught up a little bit on things that were unattended for a period of time. So are you now in a steady state? Do you guys have like your arms around that 12 square mile footprint?
No, we're about 2.5 years into this. I think another 2 years.
You,
It was really a fresh slate.
yeah.
We're forming a new foundation at this point. So that's kind of where we're at now. What's hard for us now is that they increased my budget significantly, but what you think is a lot of money, with everything, the price of contractors going up, it's better than it was. Like, I'm very grateful for what they gave me, but I could use a lot more.
It sounds like you've had a very constructive experience with satellite imagery. Did you guys use anything else like LiDAR, or no, like you guys went and partnered with somebody that provides like satellite data? Talk to us a little bit about, there's a lot of market chatter and data now with larger utilities around the accuracy of that data. Um, Take us through that journey, in terms of like, you got this data, how accurate was it? How did you supplement the visuals with manual processes to kind of get to where you wanted to go?
So it's kind of a two-step process, and I'm always like everybody else. I'm kind of hesitant, to just jump on the AI everything train. But what we had was 100% paper. That's what we used. We had visual, but we just, on the tree side, we never used it. And so I wanted kind of like a make safe. Like, I wanted to try satellite imagery. So I reached out to a few different companies. We ultimately settled with Live EO, for only the main reason being is that they would integrate with our other systems, the data. So we use a program. It's by Trimble. It's called CityWorks, and the entire city uses this program. And I wanted something that we could talk to everybody. So there was a problem across town, another department, they could put a ticket in, we could do it. But ultimately, what I wanted was, if, let's just say, the satellite stuff just didn't work out or wasn't accurate, I could fall back on CityWorks. Well, what I found with using satellite is it's pretty accurate, at least for us. The only hiccups I see is if you don't get all that overhang off, it's going to show up as burning, like it's going to light up red. It's not even necessary on some line. Like, if you got single phase, it's detrimental to take a mature oak tree straight up. And so, but what I do with CityWorks, and that's why I love having two programs, is that I'll note that in that work order. And then that work order itself recreates itself. I determine how, like, I have it set to a standard 4 years. So once you close the work order out, it'll just reopen itself in 4 years. So let's say the live EO stuff, we go away from that. I don't think it doesn't look like we are, but if they cut my funding, I always have a default program.
What percentage of your, I know, like transmission versus distribution, you mentioned about 9 miles of transmission. I'm assuming the distribution mileage is like more than that, 4 or 5 times more than that.
Oh yeah, I want to say,
Maybe 10 times
gosh,
more than that?
yeah, oh, absolutely, like 10 times. Like we're 80% backyard distribution in the
Okay.
city.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so I
Oh,
think
interesting.
yeah, it's a lot. It's mostly we have a lot of three phase, but we have six substations. Just think of it like kind of like an octagon.
Yeah.
It just wraps the city.
Yeah. We chatted with uh, Sven, right?
Yeah,
We chatted with Livio on this podcast. They seem like they're doing some pretty interesting stuff. Would you mind
yeah,
sharing, how you ultimately, you don't have to share the companies that you said
yeah,
no
yeah.
to, but how did you ultimately decide that Livio was the right provider?
Ultimately, it was the integration. It was where the other companies they wanted to use, like you mentioned, work management systems. They wanted me to use theirs at 100%. So there really wasn't a choice. I had to either use theirs at 100%. I couldn't use CityWorks in that together.
Ah, I see.
And so that was a big, and it's just been so seamless. I mean, they come around May. This year was June because of our weather. They take our photos. I send it to our GIS team,
Yep.
and then that same day it's ready to go. And then what I love is now that we're kind of getting some think of like layers of a cake. I'm getting some history in there, and I can overlay it.
Yep.
And when I do my year-end meetings with the city, I can say, here's what we did, and instead of dragging them out and showing them, it's such a distinguished look when you got two maps up on the screen.
Joe, for you, like, a couple years from now, you seem like a pretty motivated guy. You're in this tight footprint. You're maximizing your opportunity. They're recognizing that you're talented, you're innovative, you're thinking ahead, you're working with the math. 2 years, system's tight, everything's working, and now you're a little bored. What do you? What's the progression for you after this? Because I would imagine when this is in steady state, what are you going to
It's gonna
work
get boring.
on? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right
no.
now it's exciting. I mean, we're kind of in the trenches. I tell the guys all the time because when when you're when you're in someone's backyard that hasn't been touched in 10 years and now they can see their neighbors, it can get it's been a challenge. But going forward, I want to get more accurate. So they just gave us the species. So I can go in and I can toggle off and I can see my species. The Live EO, yeah. And what really helped expedite that process is that our Parks and Rec department already had a layer that was able to train the model on what a maple was and what an oak was. And so we've got that going on. Right now I can see locust, maple, and when I mean maple, it doesn't distinguish like silver or sugar. It's just maple. I'd like to tailor that better. So when the ash borer came, it's probably been 10 years ago, we spent 2 years and then all we did was cut down ash trees. And we had no way of knowing. It was just the free for all, really, is what it was. Every day we go out and we try to find a dead ash, and that's all we did. And so if I could get this thing kind of narrowed down, I think the tech's going to get better with it as well. It excites me. Like this, like I love AI. I know there's opinions about it, but I just think it's going to make everything's so much more efficient for me, and it's helped me out tremendously. I don't know if I could be where I'm at as far as like getting these numbers down. Like we're down to like 10% outage rate right now, and when I started, it was almost 20. So we've cut it. The numbers are better since this article come out,
Yeah.
and it's only because we're just reclaiming. But I know where my work's at. We're
Yeah.
not just doing trees because we're back. It's 4 years ago we was here, and now we're back.
So you're not headed towards a strictly time based.
Yeah, yeah, it's more of a hybrid cycle now because these. I pulled the old maps out and I started comparing them. We have a huge map of the whole city, right? And what he would do is cut out smaller sections, and then you'd hand the smaller sections out to the crews, and like everybody else, you fill it out. And he would highlight the areas that were done. It just didn't add up. Like some areas were done, but it was marked done, and there was no way of knowing really if it was done unless you went out there and walked every line in the city.
Well, I tell you, like, just in this conversation, and um, I think that you seem like you have a lot of care for the population that you're serving, your community. You've taken on really, really good initiatives. You're you're quantifying things, for that budget. Your leadership is obviously backing you. So, it's great to see. Like, I mean, I'd love to live in that community if I knew that the people that are responsible for ensuring electric reliability are this thoughtful about, making sure that how they're approaching the risk. It's not just like cutting everything down and turning everything into this like unesthetic, piece of
dirt desert. Yeah.
yeah,
Although we get a bad rap sometimes. And we've done a lot of public outreach. And one thing that's really cool about the city, and I think other municipalities or even bigger corporate, utility companies could implement is you all seen it. It's those trees that have been cut every 4 to 5 years, and I call them like they look like an octopus underneath the line. They just sprawled out, and I know you can prune them to a standard and make correct cuts, but it's just not aesthetically pleasing. Let's be honest. Unless it's a crabapple, a redbud, or some magnolia, something that is never going to get tall, we've made the initiative to get rid of those trees. Now, the flip side of that is we want an urban canopy. We want a nice forest in the city, so we don't cut everything down. So what we offer is a tree replacement program, and so we will cut your tree down for free. We will haul the wood away. We will grind the stump, and then we will put you a new tree of your choice, depending on where you want to put it at, on your property. And it can be in the backyard, front yard, as long as it's not in that easement area. We're happy, and we do it. It's 100% at no cost to the resident. They just pick it
how
out.
much is the community kind of bought into that and is utilizing that?
It's overwhelming sometimes, to the point where we've had to adjust it because certain times a year because it was taken up, it was taken away from the actual preventative side, and so we've contracted. We're going to be contracting it out next year because
Okay.
as soon as September hits, my guys every Friday we plant trees all day long for
Okay.
like 2 months.
Okay.
So it's been a huge. It really helps kind of soften the blow, and it's a good negotiating tool. It's like, hey, when you go up and you tell somebody, I'm going to cut your tree down, they're like, well, that's my tree. And then you say, well, it's in the easement. And it's just, well, I'll give you a tree, and if you do make a mistake and what they say, you take too much off, it's, hey, I'll give you a nicer tree. We'll put it out here for you. And
Yeah.
it's been a great program for us.
So what's your removal rate? Do you have any idea?
Almost 50%.
Okay.
It's pretty high. It's last I checked, it was like 48. We'll just say 50 for easy math. So we want to be able to walk the right of ways. We had a neighborhood where on the location you would have to drive almost around the city to get to the other side of the neighborhood, or hop the fence. Or now that we've cut the right of way out, you can just start at one end and walk. But it's been a lot of, there's been pushback, and we've had engagement from people I've barely met before. But like I tell them, like it's just a reclaim, and it'll pay almost like that small amount you invest when you're younger. You don't think it's nothing, and then you look back and you're like, man, I got that much money in there, and that's kind of what I'm doing.
It was great chatting with you. Congrats on the article. Congrats on the progress.
Yeah.
It's we know, Phil and I, we talk to the market, and we know the challenges of working for like a muni or co-op, like funding and resources, and you seem to be really optimizing that. You do it with a lot of passion. So, like I said, Westerville is lucky to have you, and I think you should run for mayor at some point.
Maybe one day.
I think that'll be an interesting.
Budget.
Yeah.
Forester turns into politics. I think that's a great story. So.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like I'm running office. Sometimes,
Yeah, you probably do.
Yeah.
But listen, man,
Good,
Joe, appreciate the time today. Great job, and congrats. Good luck, and we'll circle back and see how you're doing in a couple of years.
Thanks for joining us today. Follow us on LinkedIn for updates and to tune in again to the Trees and Lines podcast.